All right, thank you for this today. This is the Best Practices in Marketing webinar, part of the CDFI Fund's Capacity Building Initiative. Thank you for joining us on time today. We are going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing is just this disclaimer. This is just something that we have to put in, that the information that's provided and opinions that are expressed in the are those of your lovely presenters and do not necessarily reflect the of the CDFI Fund. With that out of the way, I would like to turn it over to one of our presenters, Heather, to go ahead and get us started. Take it away, Heather.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. So yeah, I just wanted to kick off with a brief introduction. Like we said, marketing can be really fun, but really challenging. So with this webinar, we're going to discuss meaningful and helpful strategies and best practices to strengthen your native CDFI's marketing efforts. And the webinar is hopefully going to help you all develop and design a simple mission-based marketing strategy and plan, outline marketing strategies that inspire strategic thinking for growth, help you understand the importance of branding across different distribution channels, and help you all identify some best practices in digital and email marketing. So that being said, we'd like to introduce ourselves as the presenters too. I'll turn it over to Flo first for that.
Hi everyone. So happy you all could join us. So I'm Florence Lutta, and I am the Chief Financial Officer at First Nations Alista Corporation. And some of you might kind of wonder why a Chief Financial Officer would be involved in marketing, but I spent 20 years prior to joining the staff at Alista with a marketing firm where I was the Director of Finance and Technology. So I'm really well-versed in marketing and have a minor in marketing in my educational background.
Thanks, Flo. And I'm Heather Rademacher-Taylor. I'm also with First Nations Alista Corporation. I'm the Director of Programs. And probably off and on for the past 10 years, I've worked with different nonprofits, including Native nonprofits and Native CDFIs with marketing and communications. So I definitely have worked on some of the ins and outs here, and I'm just so excited to pair with Flo, who has a lot of expertise in this area too. So yeah. Perfect. So one of the things we're going to do to kick off is I'm going to turn it over to Sierra really quickly because we're going to do what's called a Mentimeter, and it's going to see where y'all are all located. So that's going to be launched and should give you some directions. And Sierra, I don't know if you wanted to add some additional directions.
Absolutely, yes. So this is something that we're going to be using throughout the presentation, and it's really fun. So what you need to do, right there at the top of the screen, but go to any browser. If you happen to have a smartphone on you, a lot of people like to use their smartphone. You can also use just a regular browser and just go and type in www.menti, right up there, .com. You'll have just a little box that says, where to put the code. Just put in that code right there, 82981, and you just need to do this one time, and we're going to use times throughout the presentation, so please just do it this one time and then leave that open. So go to menti.com, type in the code, and you'll see this question that says, where are you located? So what you do is just answer that question with where you're located. It's straightforward, and then we're going to actually get to see all the answers appear here on the screen as you do that. And then we'll be able to see where everybody is from. So go ahead and do that now. Menti.com, and then you type in the code, 8291, submit, there we go. All right.
And Sierra, can they see the same screen I can see?
That everybody can see that's happening, so you can see where everybody who's joining you on the webinar is from.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I see Duluth, Minnesota, Windsor, California, Hawaii, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Oh, that's so cool. Oakland, California. We've got a couple of California folks. Ooh, Eagle Beach, South Dakota, Flagstaff, Arizona. Oh, a couple more coming in. Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin. That's where you are, Flo. No.
Yep, that would be me.
Nice, another Wisconsin person. Oh, and then I've got some in the chat here too. I've got Red Lake, Minnesota. I see somebody else typing in too.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're just joining us, it looks like other people just hopped on. We are getting started, and we wanted to start by seeing where everybody here is from. So we're using something called Menti. So if you go to any browser on your cell phone, on your computer, go to menti.com and type in this code, and then you can let us know where you're from, and we'll get to see it. You could also, if you want to, use this chat. Some of you are doing that too, which is also great.
Yeah, I see another person from Red Lake. I see someone from Orono, Maine. Perfect. So that means it looks like we have some good representation. Do we want to give it a couple more seconds here, or do we want to move on into the webinar?
I think we can move on to the next question, actually.
Perfect. Okay. Great. So Ben's going to move that for us. Perfect. So then we have just one more question, then I promise we're jumping into content. So first question we want to kind of put out, and feel free to chat in the chat box or raise your virtual hand. How many of you already have a marketing plan? We just kind of want to get a gauge for the group and see where everybody is. Yeah, like I said, if you want to put it in the chat box, or, oh, they can do this on Menti too? Perfect.
Yeah, so if you left that open, if you hit refresh, yeah, you'll see this new question and you can vote that way. Or if you'd like to put it in the chat box, that's fine too. But again, you just use the code one time and then you can just refresh and see the different questions we're going to use today.
Perfect. So I see a couple answers here. Yes, no, I don't know. I see in the chat box we've got kind of and none. So it looks like it's a mix, but leaning towards maybe no. Give y'all just a couple more seconds to respond to that if you like. I see someone else typing. I see a little. Perfect. Okay. Well, I guess we'll go on and dive in then if that works for everybody. Perfect. Okay, so Flo, I'll turn it over to you to kind of kick it off.
Okay, thanks, Heather. So we're just going to start off with like a basic definition of marketing. And according to the American Marketing Association, marketing is defined as the activity and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for existing clients, potential clients, new clients, partners, and the society at large. While this definition is great, it doesn't really help organizations and marketers determine the why and the what behind their marketing engine. This is where a marketing strategy and marketing plan come in. You need a marketing strategy and then a plan to bring that strategy to life. A plan of action is designed to promote your loan products and services to your existing loan clients and attract new ones. If you want new clients, you're going to need to actively get out there and find them to let them know you exist. The only way to do that is in a systematic way is with a solid marketing strategy. When you don't have a marketing strategy, you run the risk of becoming directionless as an organization and wasting valuable resources on channels that aren't bringing you the results and losing out on potential clients. Thankfully, it's not that hard to come up with your own marketing strategy. During the webinar, we will introduce the steps you need in order to create a marketing strategy that works for you. So just to reiterate,
I just wanted to add too, I didn't interrupt you. Yeah, and I was going to add too to the group that the big thing, too, with the marketing strategy is we hear so often that groups are the best-kept secret in their communities. And while we want you to be kind of the best at something, we don't want you to be the best-kept secrets in your community. So this is a really good way to try to overcome that, too. So just wanted to add that in there.
Right, so just to kind of reiterate, the marketing strategy is the why behind your organization, the what that defines what you deliver, how you deliver it, and the message and position you will use to define your loan products or services with your intended audience. The marketing strategy is also the way you will achieve the goals that you set forth in accomplishing this. So we're going to go through some marketing strategy elements. A good marketing strategy is drawn from initial market research and focuses on the product mix in order to achieve the maximum profit and sustain the organization long term. It establishes the primary marketing goals connected to the larger business goals and specific to the responsibilities and accountabilities placed on the marketing function by the executive director or the board of directors. A marketing strategy should remain consistent, while your marketing plan may bend and flex as you execute and gather feedback between expected results and actual results. This agile approach keeps you focused on achieving your goals and learning how the target audience responds to your messaging, offers, marketing channels, and creativity. Typically, your marketing strategy only changes if external market movements gathered through research or internal shifts occur that require a strategic revision. In most cases, an annual assessment should occur to validate and, if necessary, to update your current marketing strategy. So we're just going to go through these bullet points one by one with a little bit of a further explanation. The first one is differentiating and positioning the market offering. This is really how you communicate value to the needs of the target audience. Messaging to a CDFI's target market about loan product offerings and how they differ from traditional financial institutions or predatory lenders. For example, a consumer loan that pays off existing higher rate interest loans. This would add value to the client by lowering monthly payments and ultimately increasing discretionary income. This could be as simple as a catchy tagline or phrase or an innovative name for a loan product offering. Managing life cycle strategies. You do this so that you can attract various different kinds of clients. For a CDFI, this means developing loan product offerings and financial education programs that are relevant to clients at the various stages of life. For example, the CDFI could develop an education program for teens that explains the car buying process and subsequent need for auto insurance. Other examples may include financial education for managing and reconciling checking accounts, buying a house, obtaining credit cards, retirement, etc. Similarly, developing loan product offerings for various stages of life, such as IDAs, car loans, home improvement, debt consolidation. The third item is designing competitive strategies. You want to carve out your place in the market. Frequent, consistent, relevant, and recognizable messaging to your target audience will help carve out your place in the market. This could revolve around highlighting how your CDFI's loan products are different from conventional financial institutions, bringing attention again to the predatory lending. Product-related programs. You want to create products and services that fit your target market needs. Depending on the needs of the community you are serving, several different loan products or financial education programs may be needed or desired. This could be a couple different loan types with the same structure and interest rates, but with different naming conventions relating to the needs of your target market. Pricing decisions. You want to determine the value exchange within the target audience. A CDFI should keep their mission and their cost of lending capital at the forefront when determining interest rates and loan structuring. This relates to differentiating and positioning your market offerings. What does your community need? What would benefit them the most? Meeting your clients' needs at the same time as fulfilling your mission. Marketing channel decisions. You want to, whatever you decide to do, you want to be able to reach your target audience. And although there are numerous different types of marketing channels, not all would resonate with your community and target markets. Knowing your target audience is crucial in deciding what marketing channel to use. For example, if most of your clients are not using social media, it wouldn't make sense to use social media as a marketing channel. Even though social media is popular, if it isn't going to reach your target audience, that effort would be futile. For a CDFI, this may mean trying several different channels and measuring the results to determine which channel most resonates within your Native community. Promotion decisions. You want to generate awareness and interest in whatever it is that you're offering, whether it's your loan products or your educational programs. You want to be creative and innovative in developing loan products and financial education programs. Think outside the box. Use catchy names and phrases that pique the interest of your target market.
Perfect. Thanks, Flo. And I was going to add, too, make sure to use your chat function. If you have any questions that come up as we're talking about something, you want us to clarify something, feel free to ask as we go along. We'll be watching that, too. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. But, yeah, so Flo did a great job of laying out kind of marketing strategy. And just to break that down a little more, marketing strategy kind of simplified. You know, kind of wanted to go through these bullets, too, and really kind of elaborate a little bit. So really, if we're thinking about it really simple terms, you want to start with a really compelling story. Really effective marketing contains all the elements of a really irresistible story. So these might include characters, which would be kind of your target audience or community members you want to reach, their challenges, what are their pain points and motivations, what are the desired outcomes they want for different things in their life, a setting, so kind of connecting those dots, obstacles to the desired outcome that we've talked about with the motivations, and the climax, which is the value your solution as a Native CDFI can provide, and the conclusion, the delivery of that value, that product or service, and helping them reach their goals. And once you kind of have all these elements in place, which sound like a lot, but they really kind of go really organically together, you can begin to build the central message that kind of really demonstrates how your Native CDFI product or service takes community members from where they are now to an ideal scenario in which their lives are improved. And for a CDFI, this could be the use of client success stories or your impact data. So that's just one piece of this. Start with that compelling story. Then really you want to develop technical expertise if you can. As the number of messaging distribution channels continues to grow out there, the number of systems required to integrate those channels grows with it. So, as your marketing efforts grow and mature, you want to make sure, where at all possible that you invest in the technology, education, and personnel required to keep them effective over the long term. And with personnel, maybe at some point you'll grow where you actually have like one dedicated communications person, or maybe it's like they have a dedicated portion of their time. There's one staff person that's doing that. So, yeah, definitely trying to think of that stuff is important. And then 3, kind of coordinate your messaging. All of your marketing, and you'll hear me talk about this more later, and probably Flo as well, all of your marketing efforts should be based on a unified strategy, meaning you should be telling a consistent story across all the channels you use to get the word out and any place that are client touch points. Whether that's social media or your newsletter or you're at a community event, you should be consistent across the board. And of course, for Native CDFI, if at all possible, your messaging should be Native inspired and culturally appropriate, which I don't see that being a problem for any of y'all. And then 4, content marketing leads the charge. So content should really be the foundation of any modern marketing strategy, anything you're working on. There are a lot of differing opinions about what makes content awesome, but above all, your content should really be authentic. It should stem from your unique brand story, from your organization and the community you're serving. Great content is stuff that's relevant to your clients and your organization and your brand, adding value for clients in a way that aligns with your organization's larger mission. And as a Native CDFI, it's really helpful to use real authentic storytelling in your content mix. And so whether this is success stories that we talked about or in a newsletter, maybe you could share a traditional teaching from your community or tribe, a story from an elder, some language translations. You can wrap all this around your messaging to really find things that are really fun for people to read and really help them engage as much as possible with y'all. And then 5, incorporate employee voices. Authentic content relies on your organization and brand's unique voice, and your employees are definitely part of that voice. So if at all possible, empower employees to become brand advocates and organization advocates. leaders and folks that are in the doing the marketing or communication should really encourage kind of everybody's voices to talk about the services and value their organization provides. And oftentimes this is really easy because I've seen this so many times that a lot of times there are staff people that before they were staff people, they were clients and they were using the products and services and they really helped them. And so I find that that's actually a really easy approach to take when they can kind of share that story too. And then finally, I would say focus on the branding, not the selling, kind of the message, not the selling. So your marketing messaging should always center on telling your story, your client stories, your community stories, and teaching, not selling your loan products or services, even though obviously you want to have as much information about that as possible. Instead of trying to reach everybody, your story is going to resonate with those clients who share your same values and draw them to you. And so one example we have is Apple, who's kind of mastered the strategic brand of storytelling. So if you've ever received an advertisement from Apple, telling you to buy their product, you probably can't say you have because they haven't said anything that's saying directly buy their product. It doesn't happen. They focus on building a relationship. What their marketing does is draw potential customers into their brand story, showing them what life is like when they live that story by using Apple products, of course. And the results kind of speak for themselves versus making kind of a direct buy kind of call to action. So then with the marketing plan, if we're moving kind of from strategy to plan, this is going to be the other kind of key piece. So what's equally important to that strategy is a marketing plan. And I think Flo already touched on this a little bit, but a marketing plan is really a document that outlines your marketing strategy. Doing business without a marketing plan is really like driving without a map. You may get to your destination eventually, but you risk making time-consuming and costly errors along the way, which, I mean, we work for, organizations with tight budgets and few staff, and we're doing so much, like we can't afford to kind of waste time anywhere or be inefficient if possible. So that's something to really consider in terms of really thinking about planning things out. The problem that we see often is that most people really get excited. They want to jump into the how of the plan, like what are we going to do, versus defining the why and really being thoughtful about defining the what of the plan. And again, that's another way that you can end up wasting valuable time and resources or in outlining maybe a beautiful plan that's neither realistic nor effective, because you never want to end up with a plan on the shelf either. That's not going to serve your needs. So, for example, you might be assuming, maybe you haven't done a market study, but you're just like, I know my community, I know, this is something people need, but maybe you're assuming there's demand for a loan product, and there isn't, unfortunately, because sometimes we get it right and sometimes we get it wrong, or maybe the interest rate is just too high or low, or the loan terms might not work for the target market. So what the marketing plan can help is it can show you how you're going to attract clients to products and services and persuade them to maybe close a loan, attend a training, or both. The marketing plan also builds confidence with funders. It can show funders that you have a well-thought-out plan that's backed up with facts and research. And contrary to popular belief, a marketing plan is not a one-time effort destined to kind of, again, sit on the shelf. On the contrary, it should be updated on a regular basis to reflect the changing needs of your organization and your customers. And you kind of can see these kind of bullets here. How are you going to achieve your marketing goals? That's what's going to be in the plan. The large campaigns, the individual events, the marketing tactics, all live there. It's really a matrix of ideas, systems, and events, and it's really the application of your strategy to create, again, a roadmap that's going to get you from point A to point B. And so I'll turn that over to you, Flo, to dig in deeper.
Okay, thanks, Heather. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the marketing plan elements. The first thing is campaigns specifically tied to your marketing strategy goals. So whatever ad campaigns or slogans or taglines or anything that you come up with, you want to make sure that those are directly tied to your strategy goals. Also, your target audience, typically personas that the campaigns are specifically targeting. So you may have for example, I can use Oasis Ag Loans as an example. So we're specifically targeting people or native CDFIs within our industry that are doing ag loans or want to do ag loans. So you might have specific audiences for specific products and specific services. Also, you want your messaging. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just saw a question come in. Just wanted to let you know. Caniela was asking if we could provide a template of a marketing plan.
Yeah, we can provide like a mini marketing plan template. That's not a problem.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, so the other one is messaging that resonates with your target audience. So regardless of what you say in your campaigns or in your ads, you definitely want the messaging that's going to really mean something to your target audience and get their attention. Also, you want the offer, whatever you're offering, you want that to resonate with your target audience. So if you are offering a loan at a reduced interest rate, you want to make sure that that's something that your target audience is going to be attracted to. And then also you want to select marketing channels based on what your target audience needs, kind of like what we talked about earlier in a previous slide about social media. If you determine that your target audience really isn't using social media, it wouldn't be wise to use social media as one of your marketing channels. Once the market strategy is established, your next step is to develop a marketing plan to execute the strategy. The plan should provide clear guidance to the team of how the market strategy will be put into action and how it will be measured in order to achieve the goals. The marketing plan puts into action the marketing strategy. So take your time to plan an effective marketing strategy and more time planning out how you'll execute it through a comprehensive marketing plan. An effective marketing plan lays out specifically what to do, how to measure success, and provides a base to troubleshoot and optimize moving forward to achieve your goals. So just to continue with the specific plan elements, marketing channel metrics to know whether the channel is effective and efficient. So what that basically means is, regardless of the marketing channel, you want to have some sort of upfront conclusion that you want to draw. So say, for example, if you decided to use social media, Facebook or Instagram or one of those channels, and your idea was you wanted to attract 5 new loan clients by whatever that messaging was. So after you did that messaging and you really got some feedback on it, you would be able to go back through and determine where those specific leads came from. So if you did, in fact, get 5 new loans from this, you would be able to determine that that specific new loan lead came from that marketing effort that you just instituted. The next thing on there is the budget required to execute the campaign, including technology, tools, media buys, etc. So whenever you're working on the marketing plan, you definitely want to put a budget, like you want to put numbers behind these campaigns. So if you are going to use like a social media platform for an advertising campaign, you want to be able to put some numbers behind it. So you're going to have to do some research to determine what those costs are going to be. And the reason this is important is because you want to make sure that there's an ROI. So for example, if you're going to do $1,000, I'm just throwing that arbitrarily out there, but say if you're going to do a $1,000 ad campaign on Facebook, you want to make sure that that ROI, the return on investment, you're going to meet that. So in other words, if you spent $1,000 and then that resulted in 20 new loans, and the interest that you earned on those loans makes up, will pay for that $1,000 that you invested, then that's a good buy. So you always want to have the numbers. You want to have what it's going to cost you, and then you want to have the outcomes, what the expected outcomes are. And then after the campaign is done, after a certain amount of time, whether that's 2 months or 3 months or even 6 months, you always want to go back and measure that and make sure that you did have ROI. If it comes back that there was no ROI, that it didn't go anywhere, that you didn't get any new leads for new loan clients, you want to rethink your marketing plan at that point and perhaps choose different marketing channels. The next thing here is the creative requirements, including landing pages, ads, microsites, etc. So this is just about being creative in everything that you're putting out there, whether that's landing pages or links to pages that you might put in an ad. Like, for example, you could have a Facebook ad that has a link to like an inquiry form or a page with more information about your site or your training program or anything else that you're doing. And you could do the same with ads. any ads that you might place in newspapers, radio, again, social media, you can have paid ads on those too. And the microsite, a microsite is just kind of like a micro website within a website. So in your website, you might want to have a microsite that explains your loan products, or a microsite that explains your educational programs that you're offering. And basically all this is doing is just making sure this is all tied together with all of your other messaging and all of your other marketing channels. And then we already touched on this a little bit, but expected results, which are the marketing goals tied to your marketing strategy. So anytime in your marketing strategy and your marketing plan, you want to have those goals and those outcomes kind of laid out so that you are able to go back and measure and decide, yeah, this was a great channel. We got, 5 new loans from this ad that we ran on Facebook, or we got 5 new loans from this ad that we ran in our local tribal newspaper, etc. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Heather, and she's just going to kind of recap the difference between the marketing strategy and marketing plan.
Yeah, thanks, Flo. So yeah, just to kind of bring it back, so we're going through a lot of information and throwing a lot of at y'all at once. So yeah, just again, what is the marketing strategy versus the marketing plan? What's the difference? So really the marketing strategy, is the brainstorming, the approach, it's the thinking, the ideas, the angles, the way. And then the marketing plan is really the doing. It's the executing, the vision brought to life. And you kind of see that in this little table here. It's the roadmap. And it kind of talks about the different purposes here. And so if we ran through this really quickly, the strategy, again, is the why behind your efforts. It's going to describe what your overarching goals are and how they're going to help you achieve your overarching kind of business or organizational goals. What offering you're going to deliver, who you're going to deliver it to, how are you going to do it, who are your competitors, that research. It helps you make the most of your investment and your resources, keeps you focused. And then really the plan itself is the execution again. It's the purpose is to lay out your marketing campaign efforts on a tactical level, what you're going to do, where you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, how you're going to track it. And it supports your strategy. And it's, again, that action plan that you're going to use to implement your kind of overarching vision for your marketing, for your organization. So just wanted to kind of bring it back to that and kind of really clarify that. Oh, and then I have a question here, Flo, before I turn it over back to you. Some folks are wondering if we could provide an outline of a marketing strategy as well.
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem. Can I ask, Caniela, if you could just email me these things so that I don't forget about what I need to send you?
And I'm writing these down too, Flo, at the same time.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
No problem. So I'll turn it back over to you. Flo's put some really amazing case studies together that'll hopefully really add some concrete elements to what we're talking about with planning and strategizing around your marketing.
Yeah, so the first case study is that of White Buffalo CDC, and I just kind of put a goal on there, a business goal of they want to grow their loan portfolio by 25% this year. So in their marketing strategy, they want to tap into peer audience networks of their current clients. That's kind of their strategy behind how they want to grow their portfolio. And then their marketing plan for how they're going to actually achieve this is they're going to create a client rewards program for referrals and market through direct mail, social media, and email. So that kind of explains a couple of things. It explains the marketing strategy part and the marketing plan part. So, and then it also explains like the goal. So their first part was their goal. They want to grow their portfolio by 25%. Their strategy, they want to tap into their peer audience of current clients. And then how are they going to do that? They're going to create a client reward program for the referrals. So that kind of lays it out for you, like in kind of bullet points and kind of direct verbiage of to like what exactly they would have to do in order to accomplish this and how they're going to accomplish that. The next one is Pacific Financial Services. So their business goal was they wanted to close on at least $50,000 in small business loans. So the strategy behind that was they wanted to build relationships with top 20 influencers in the community business circles. their plan, how they were going to do that, they were going to join a networking group, send targeted emails to influencers once a quarter with the latest updates, and host a VIP night with special incentives. So this, again, kind of gives you the idea. They've made a goal, their strategy, how they were going to do it, and then their plan, how they were going to execute that strategy. The third one was with Dancing Crane CDFI. They had a goal of they wanted to grow their attendance at trainings by 30%. So their strategy was they wanted to focus on growing market segments within specific verticals such as high school seniors, elders, or recent college grads. How they were going to do that is they are going to sponsor a new graduate package at the local high school, and they're going to partner with local credit unions to set up bank accounts. And they're going to use Facebook to advertise these things based on life events. So those were just like some of the basic ideas to come up with. Of course, there's many ways that once you set a goal, there's many strategies you could put behind it, and there's many different ways that you could, put a plan behind it. So those were just like kind of some basic things that we came up with that a person could use as examples when you're, perhaps developing your goals and then putting a strategy behind it and then the plan behind that strategy. So the next thing is, this is an outline for your marketing strategy and plan. So this is kind of what Kaniela just asked for, but I will lay it out better for him other than just in bullet points. But the first thing is to get started on your own marketing strategy and subsequent marketing plan, start by outlining this list. So you just take this list and you kind of put it in an outline format. These are the factors that you should research and document before strategizing in the direction of your marketing. If you fail to look at the whole picture, you may end up unintentionally copying a competitor's strategy, or worse, missing the mark with your whole campaign. Once you have all this information gathered, then you can begin the process of identifying the strategy you want to use to build the marketing plan that will lead to the achievement of your goals. Over the next several slides, we'll delve deeper into this list. So I'm not going to read this list because each slide going forward kind of takes the main points from these bullet points and breaks them out further. And then I'm going to hand it back over to Heather to take over from here.
Perfect. Thanks, Flo. So like Flo said, we're going to jump into each of these components to really break them down, kind of discuss them further. So really, goals are important. Setting realistic goals is a major element of a good marketing strategy. And you can set realistic goals by stating what you want to accomplish with your marketing plan. For example, one major goal for any native CDFI marketing strategy would be to gain new clients and grow your loan portfolio. Another example could be to provide quality and consistent customer service where you're really serving your clients well. So one of the big things, too, we want to state out here is, when developing goals for your CDFI, try to use real numbers. Real numbers are relevant, attainable, and they create impact. So, for example, increase web traffic by 10%, convert 10 loan inquiries to loans in the second quarter, close on $100,000 in loans during the month of October, etc. So that's really what we want to point out here with goals. And this is really one of the most important parts of the whole marketing strategy and plan. So you really want to be sure to take your time and, be clear and as possible and be as thoughtful as possible. And as a rule of thumb, be as specific as possible and really think about how you want to identify key performance metrics too. And so along those lines, one of the things to avoid is avoid outlining vague goals, such as get more Facebook followers or write more press releases or news releases, create more videos, and just generally increase retention rate or decrease delinquency rate. Because if you think about that, how are you going to measure success? And we kind of had this great quote that Flo found here is vague goals produce vague results. So we really want to avoid that if at all possible. And so essentially some example goals for your CDFI, and we kind of have them here in this image as well, but it could be get 100 new Facebook followers this year, write 12 newsletters this year, one per month, create one YouTube video this year, increase loan clients by 15% by 2020, get 300 attendees at financial education classes. So this is really a good sample goal page. What you'll see from these goals is that they not only identify a specific metric in each of their goals, but they also set a timeline for when they'll be increased. The same vague goals listed in the previous slide kind of, as you can see, become much clearer when specific numbers and timelines are applied to them. And you can even dive deeper into your marketing goals if you want. You know, generally the more specific, the better. And so along those lines, you know, now that you kind of understand the bare bones of a marketing strategy, you really want to figure out what success then means for you. It's really well and good to say, you know, you want more exposure, you want more customers or clients, but you really want to define your goals a little more narrowly than that. Like we said, avoiding vagueness and really being specific. So how can you tell that your marketing strategy is working, you know, if you don't know exactly what success looks like to you in the first place? And so again, some of those poorly defined goals would be you want to rank #1 in a Google search, or a bigger email list, or more awareness of a new lending product. These are no good, so to speak. They have no workable timeline. They lack specificity and actionable steps. And worst of all, there's no way to track or measure those. So to get over this pitfall, we advocate something that many of y'all may already be familiar with, or maybe you're not, and those are SMART marketing goals. So in other words, as you can see it spelled out here, goals that are specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound or timely. And really by having SMART goals in place, they help you make sure that your marketing goals align directly with your organizational goals, your business goals. They're really easy to follow and something that your whole team can get behind. And most importantly, instead of relying on your gut, you now have kind of definitive metrics that you can use to track the success of your marketing strategy, and also to report out if you think about it. You'll be able to be collecting these metrics and report out to funders or community members too. So anyway, this means that you want to create marketing goals that look more like this. Like, I want to grow my mailing list to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which is something we would like too. We are not at that number, but that would be an awesome number. You know, I want to rank #1 for the keyword native CDFI entrepreneurs by 2018. Or, you know, let's say, you know, it's sales related, so this is a little different, but you want to track and measure the number of downloads and sales you receive from a series of downloadable ebooks over a period of 3 months. That's probably a little different, but just kind of gives you an idea of, like, these are very specific time-bound goals. But creating goals like this, when you do that, you'll be able to work towards something and make sure that your marketing strategy is really kept focused and on the right track at all times if possible. It'll give you a clear idea of whether or not your tactics are working and if you possibly need to change or adjust your strategy over time. And again, this really, like, goes back to that efficiency, you know, like, marketing sounds like this big thing that's just like we don't have time for, we're so stretched, you know, we have limited resources and staff. And again, this helps you really be as efficient as possible with those limited resources as a native CDFI. And so it's really going to kind of support the work that you're doing. And so that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Flo, and she's going to dive into the situation analysis portion.
Yeah, and we do have one question. Somebody is asking if the slides will be available for download. And I guess I'm going to ask Sierra about that. Otherwise, if it's okay if Elisa distributes them if some people want them. Okay, great.
Yes, absolutely. After the webinar, we'll send a link to a Dropbox, and that will absolutely have the slides that anybody can download.
Oh, great. Thank you, Sarah. So I'm going to jump into the SWOT analysis. A solid marketing strategy includes an honest SWOT analysis of the organization, which is a breakdown of the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The results of the SWOT analysis guide your marketing strategy. For example, if a supplier is prohibitively raising costs on a product that is less popular, you may need to consider changing the product line or searching for a new supplier. We can relate that to a native CDFI, and that could be like a consultant, for example, that comes in and does training for you. If the cost keeps going up on that particular consultant, you might want to look at a different consultant that would offer the same services for a lesser price. If the SWOT reveals outstanding customer relationships but a weak financial position, your marketing may need to focus on improving free word-of-mouth advertising efforts. So to dig it down a little deeper, strengths. What do we do well? Strengths are any competitive advantage, skill, expertise, proficiency, talent, or other factors that improve your organization's position in the industry and that can't be easily copied. Examples are well-trained executive teams, low staff turnover, high client retention, low loan delinquencies, etc. You could put pretty much anything on there. So whatever it is that's like going well, working well for you, those are your strengths. On the flip side are weaknesses. Weaknesses are the factors that reduce your organization's ability to achieve its objectives independently. Examples include unreliable or delayed communication, outdated technology and software, insufficient marketing efforts, and or lack of planning. So weaknesses, basically, what things do we need to work on in our business? What could we improve on? What could we make better? The next one, opportunities. Opportunities are ways for your organization to grow and be more profitable. These can include seeking new clients, managing technological change, or addressing new client trends. You also need to look at how your organization's main skills can be used to take advantage of these opportunities. So basically, what trends are creating more opportunities for you? It could be as simple as just a loan product. There could be like a trend within your community about perhaps debt consolidation or new cars. Like, for example, if there's a local dealership offering like a great, great rebates and great options on new cars and stuff, so you could maybe perhaps that would be an opportunity for you to do auto loans and to put several of them out there. So it just depends on basically what's happening around you. Threats. Threats are barriers to entry in your industry, such as labor shortages, capacity, legislative hurdles, detrimental economic or political developments. So basically any obstacles that you might be facing. One thing that comes to mind was a threat that happened to most of us a few months ago, and that was when the government shut down. So when the government shut down, that affected a lot of things at the tribal and governmental level. So there were people kind of panicking in our industry about loan payments and how that would like trickle down to them because people were on furlough, and that affected a lot of our tribal communities. So that's not happening right now, but had someone been doing a SWOT analysis during that time, that particular item could have potentially been a threat to them. Heather, can you advance the slide? Because for whatever reason, it's not advancing for me.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. There you go. You should be on this one.
Oh, so yeah, mine is still showing the SWOT analysis, but I'll just kind of go with it.
It's showing 24 for me.
Okay, that's interesting. So this next one, this slide is research your competitors. So this was another item on the outline from a few slides back. And in this section, we'll help you identify who your competitors are, what they're doing, and how you can carve yourself a place alongside them in your niche market, and ideally surpass them. No organization exists in a vacuum. Even if you are the only brand on the market in your own specific niche, you can be guaranteed that sooner or later you're going to find yourself with some competition, and you're going to have their own ideas about the best way to acquire clients. This is why it's important to spend some time doing marketing research on the competition. Unless you happen to have a really good relationship with someone else in your niche, you can find time to get them on the phone and talk about your market strategy. Chances are you're going to have to do a little sleuthing. One way to get a good initial grasp of the marketing channels your competitors are doing is go directly to their website and see what they're saying. Sign up for their newsletter. That way you'll get to see every single thing that they're doing. Not only will this give you invaluable insight as to what their email advertising efforts look like, but it will also give you an up-close and personal view of their overall plan. You don't want to do this so that it replicates their every move, but you just want to find out what's working for them, and you want to do it better than them if you can. You also want to do this so that you can find untapped opportunities. And then, Heather, I still have the same problem for the next slide.
Okay, I've got it on slide 25 right now, which is competitor research should include. So I think you're good. That's the next one.
Okay, thanks. So your competitor research should include who's their marketing team? Who's doing their marketing? Is it somebody that has experience? Are they really young? Are they using innovative ideas? So just kind of scope out who their marketing team is and what they're doing. Who's their leadership team? Who's guiding it? Who's setting the goals for the organization? What is their marketing strategy? Their social media strategy. Are they active on social media? Are they posting? Do they have a Facebook page? Do they have Instagram? Are they posting on those regularly? And if they are, what are they posting? If you could look at their financials, that would be great. Some people do post their financials on their websites, and some people don't. So if you could see them or their annual report, it's always good to kind of see what their client base is, what their loan portfolio size is, different things like that. The number of clients, their user personas, what their client personas are. Are they different than yours? Are they the same as yours? And then the distribution channels they're using. Are they advertising in the travel newspaper? Are they advertising on a billboard? Are they doing radio campaigns? It's really, the possibilities are unlimited, but always research your competition as much as you can.
Yeah,
and then the next. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I would add to what you're saying, too, is another good way to think about it, too, if you're like, oh, I don't want to think about it as a competitor. Another good way that I look at it is looking at it as peer research, because like Flo was saying, you always get really good ideas. Like, man, they're really reaching the youth in their community. How are they doing that? Because I would love to reach the youth in my community kind of much in the same way. Or we do this ourselves. Like, if we go to a conference or something, we always use it as ideas for our own. We're like, oh, man, I really loved how smooth this went. Like, what did they do for this? Or what platform did they use for registrations, or things like that. So if the word competitors might turn you off or something too, I like to think of it as just peer research, and it's peer research so that you can be doing a better job, not even necessarily so that you're competing with any particular group. So I just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Heather.
And then we have our next group question, which means you can either fill in the chat box or the Mentimeter will still work for those of you folks that have used it. So how many of you already know your target audience? Not just think you know, but actually know your target audience. So we'll kind of let y'all fill that in as yes or no, or like I said, feel free to type in the chat function too. Ooh, I see yes. Yes, and I see somebody from Oakville, Washington, and Muskogee Loan Fund. I see another yes in here. Oh, I see a bunch of yeses. This is awesome. That's definitely what we want to see. And the Mentimeter is also registering a bunch of yeses here too. Perfect. I'll give you all just a couple more seconds. And then we're going to turn it back over to Flo, who's going to be talking to you more in depth about knowing your target audience. Yeah, I see overwhelmingly yes, Flo. I don't see any no's or I don't know.
Oh, that's great.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to turn it to the next slide. So we're on slide 27 now, Flo.
Thanks. And my screen is working now. I can see the slide advancing, but I don't have the arrows anymore to advance the slides myself. So,
no worries.
So that's interesting. But anyway, let's talk about our target audience. So the identification of your existing and potential clients and their needs is a key element to any marketing strategy. With this information, the organization works to address these needs more thoroughly or successfully than the competition. Of course, your organization cannot meet every need for every person, so you must analyze the market to determine how to focus on the individual needs within the target market. Without focusing on your target market, you will be wasting time, energy, and money casting too wide of a net. By identifying your target audience, you can be sure that you're marketing to people who are actually interested in what you have to offer. Otherwise, your marketing strategy is pretty much the equivalent of a man yelling through a megaphone randomly, as the picture on the slide illustrates. This man is facing the ocean. He's just yelling through a megaphone at he doesn't know what. You should be asking yourself not just how you can get the most known clients to your organization, but how you can get the right clients, clients that will actually close loans and train your educational training. The goal of identifying your target audience and working to meet their needs is the development of customer relationships and loyalty. So the next slide, this talks about creating your client personas, and this is how you really get to know your target market. So a great way to identify your target audience is by creating client personas. Who are your ideal clients? What are their goals? What are the biggest problems that they're facing? How can your organization solve their problems? So those questions that I just asked, those relate back to the very beginning when we were talking about, what does your target market need? What are the hurdles that they're facing? And what can you do as an organization to help them get past those hurdles? The best practices recommended around these major questions you could ask yourself about your target clients when outlining a client persona. For example, where do they live? Where do they not live? So when you're developing your target area or your target market, and you go through your current clients, your existing clients, you will be able to come up with where are they living, but by doing that, you will also determine where are they not living. So that will help you in formulating your marketing channels and also your messaging. Your age, what is the age range of your current clients? The gender, what is their gender? People ask, why is that important? And in some aspects it is, in some aspects it's not. But that will tell you, the gender will tell you who is the major decision maker in that particular household. And is there some type of continuity? Is there consistency with that? Like, for example, if you went through your clients and you created these client personas and you found out that 90% of your people, your clients that were signing on loans, closing loans, were women, then you would know that your messaging has to be targeted more toward women versus male. And that could apply towards all of the things, not only your messaging, but it could be the products that you're offering. It could also even apply to any type of educational trainings that you're doing. The next one is, what are their interests? What are they interested in? What are their hobbies? Maybe 90% of your clients are into camping, and so it would be really cool if you had an RV loan product. Maybe 50% of your clients are into fishing, so you could have a boat loan product, just different things like that. Education level, what is their education level? Job title, what fields of work do your customers work in, and what types of job titles do they carry? Income level, what is their average income range? Relationship status, languages, what languages do they speak? Favorite websites, what types of websites do they frequent? The reason that's important is because, digital marketing is such a big thing now in our lives. It would be nice to know what websites they're looking at so that you would know where to perhaps place an ad, a pop-up ad that would come up. Like if you find out that 25% of your clients or something were constantly searching for fishing websites or fishing supplies websites, then you could potentially think about doing a pop-up ad on that. You could do it for entertainment, even daily things that people are looking for, like weather or local news, different things like that. Motivation, what are their reasons for wanting or needing a loan? And concerns, what are their concerns about obtaining a loan? Anytime you build a client persona as part of your marketing strategy and plan, it's more than just broadly listing out demographics of your target market. You need to know your target client as if they were a close personal friend. As we know from interactions with our own friends, they can be full of surprises. So one of the biggest mistakes you can make when creating client persona is to constantly make assumptions. Actually put these personas to the test and start interviewing people and get some real data. You could do this just basically at your organization. You could send out like a survey to your existing clients, and you could ask them for all of this information. And I know some of you will say, oh, it's so hard to get people to give us this information, or it's really difficult to, get people to answer these questions, but you could offer some sort of incentive if you were interested in doing this and really creating client personas. So you could say, for everybody that fills this out, we're going to send you, a bumper sticker or a mug or something like that. So you can offer some type of incentive to get this information. The easiest place you can look to find your client persona is to whatever current clients you have. Ask them for 10 minutes of their time for an interview or send out a simple survey. Interview people who aren't even your clients yet, but people who fit the profile of your target client. Find a way to incentivize people to do interviews with you by potentially offering them a discount or something free. Whatever solution you work out, your goal should be to find out what people are really thinking about when they see your organization. There will be temptation to gloss over this part, thinking you've already got it down, but generally speaking, the more time you put into developing your client personas, the more effective your marketing strategy will be in the end. Taking the time to identify specific demographic traits, habits, and goals will make it easier for you to cater your marketing plan to them. In other words, you want results. So the better you know your clients, the better marketing you'll be able to do, which will then help you achieve the goals that you originally set forth, giving you the results that you want. So the next section is section is for Heather, and she's going to talk about the marketing channels.
Yeah, so woo, marketing channels time. So another kind of component of this is definitely the way to kind of get the word out, so to speak, with your marketing and communications. There's a wide variety of ways that you can get your marketing message in front of, prospective clients, community members, more than ever, in fact. You can go the traditional marketing and advertising route and stick with ads in newspapers. You can kind of go in the more modern and ever-changing and evolving tactics like search engine optimization, SEO, which we're going to be talking about quite a bit, and content marketing. And search engine optimization, or SEO, is just really a super fancy way of saying this is a process of optimizing your website to get organic or unpaid traffic from search engine results page. So essentially, if they type in Google, and you're on Google and you're trying to type in your organization, you want it to kind of show up on the top. You don't want it to be buried into different pages. So that's really all that means. And again, optimizing your online content so that a search engine likes to show it as a top result for searches of a certain keyword is optimum, and it can pretty much not cost you anything if you're doing it right. And whatever route you kind of head down, you're going to need to figure out what channels you'll be using in order to turn your audience into prospects, and then into hopefully clients that you're working with your products or services. And while, again, it might be tempting to get excited and want to try everything at once and go for kind of a scattergun kind of approach, all you're going to be doing, again, is wasting precious resources on channels that aren't guaranteed to work. So you really want to be thoughtful about that. And so the best approach to figuring out the right channels for your market strategy is to first really break down all of your potential channels into 3 sections. And we look at that, you kind of see this image here. What we're going to be talking about is earned media, paid media, and owned media. And so it's really best to think of these 3 different types of media as 3 legs of a stool, with each type playing their own important role in your marketing strategy, and all 3 needing to work together to cover all your marketing bases, as well as make sure you don't fall off your stool. So a good general rule of thumb, but always, choose what's going to work for you, is really to follow the ratio of what we call 2 to 1 to 1 when you're starting off with your marketing strategy for your organization. And that means 2 owned media channels, 1 earned media channel, 1 paid media channel. And then I want to kind of go into each of these just to really explain what they are. There is a touch of overlap, but pretty much they're very, clearly different kind of legs of that stool. So owned media are really the channels that you have full control over, meaning your email list, your website, or your blog if you have it. Some orgs do. In really basic terms, it's really any branded content that you produce yourself as an organization and that can be considered owned media. So really the pros to that are that you have complete control over it, it costs less, and it's published directly on your site. The cons to it are that, there is a limited audience and it needs internal maintenance. It is going to take some time investment, so even though it might be cost less money-wise, it still takes time and of staff people, so it's definitely something to consider. So usually paid and earned media are used to push traffic to your owned media, but with the popularity of blogs and that search engine optimization and content creation, it's a lot easier to pull in traffic organically to this owned media. And owned media really works by creating value for that visitor, that community member that might be visiting your site. These types of channels do more than just sell a product, which works at pulling clients in rather than just pushing products and services out onto them. And in terms of the cost, there could be marginal costs. So depending on what a domain and host, you choose for your website, or along with how much data you have, you could run your website fairly cheaply. On the other spectrum, you can own a social media profile and even a WordPress site for free. And if you're looking at, a paid owned channel, which we'll talk about just to make it complicated, costs could run you as low as $10 a year, but they could go upwards to hundreds and beyond, and that's just for the domain and the host of a site. So it's just good to point that out because there are multiple little things that can hike the price up once you add it all up, and so you just really want to be mindful of that when you build that budget piece that Flo was talking about, and really being thoughtful about, what could all go into something. And so the cost to consider and that along those lines would be kind of web hosting, designer or developer if you want that or can afford that, content creators, themes, domains, plugins, the time up front. A website definitely takes investment of time. You may be able to set something up fairly quickly if you're using maybe like a WordPress or a Wix, but even still you're really going to be looking at a few days of just focused working on that. And it's really important to highlight this, that it's not a set it and forget it type of thing. You're going to find yourself doing updates and adding new content as you go to really get the most out of that. And creating content does take time and effort, but depending on your staff, you may be able to produce a really, few excellent pieces per week or per month. And you have to factor in the time it might take to research something you're writing or writing it or editing it, or if you're focused on that search engine optimization, making those tweaks for the, for those keywords. However, a social media profile can just take minutes to set up, which a lot of y'all know because you have them. And then like Flo said, we really want to think about that return on investment to the organization. Measuring an e-commerce website return on investment is super easy, but for other types of websites, like an organization, it can be kind of tricky. But if you're using the right tools, you can measure just about anything. So some of y'all might be familiar with this or not, but so there's an option of Google Analytics. It can be a good source to see how much traffic your website is generating for you. And you can use those statistics or statistics from if you're running a blog as a piece of the puzzle when you're calculating that return on investment to kind of see, what's the traffic look like? How many people are reading your site or visiting your site or engaging with it or clicking? Those are all things you can look at. But time to results are something to consider. It might take a few months before pages of your website can be ranked accurately. And if you're measuring that search engine optimization, it could take a few weeks to see what traffic a single post has brought in. So just keep that in mind when you're planning. And then some examples of owned media. Just really quickly want to go over that too, to be clear. One was definitely something I've already alluded to, which is your website. Kind of the most obvious, but it's your personal hub, your digital location. You have complete leverage when it comes to your website. It's long-term and versatile, a face to your organization. It might take the most time to scale, but it's great for building relationships and giving you a platform. On your website, again, you have free reign to do as you please. And if you're like most orgs, you'll provide your contact information and make it as easy as possible for your clients and community members to contact you. Two is that content marketing or blog we were talking about. It's the easiest way to share valuable content with your audience. You can use this as a way to establish your brand position, all while speaking directly to your community, and it can be an extension of your website and easily be promoted and shared through your other maybe paid or owned media. On most blogs, you'll kind of see a social media icon for easy sharing. And then social media, which so many of us are familiar with, you might not technically own, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, any of that, but your social media pages are yours, and your profiles are considered owned media. The great thing about using these channels is that you can reach a large audience and you have the potential to share your content really easily. And even better is that in most cases you can create a profile for free, and what you share can overlap into earned media quickly, which is where I was saying, there is some overlap between these. And then word of mouth marketing and email marketing. So email marketing allows your org to have good versatility with your owned media. It's cost effective and super versatile. And some people consider email marketing as a paid channel because most organizations have to pay for an email marketing provider, but despite that fact that you have to pay for it, it doesn't make it a paid channel per se, because you essentially own your list and you earn the right to send people those emails as they subscribe to your list, and you own that content. So we consider that owned media. And then finally, that word of mouth marketing, which again, this is going to overlap into earned media too, but word of mouth can also fit in the owned channel because there are times you create programs and content for people to share. So that's something I also wanted to point out. And again, we really recommend that at least 2 channels of owned media in your organization's marketing strategy are considered, so you don't ever need to rely on anyone else's platform to promote your organization or your brand or your messaging. Owned media really should form the backbone of your marketing strategy. And so, we really recommend putting more of your effort into building your email list and growing your followers, especially because that's going to be really targeted at your community, or can be. These are the channels that, again, you have complete control over, that reach your target audience and generate the majority of leads, and hopefully eventually, meaning that you're serving them with services and loan products. So yeah, figure out what 2 owned media channels you want to focus on building when it comes to your own marketing strategy, or building up if you already have them. And so that's going to segue into the next type of media, which is that earned media I was talking about. So with earned media, what you're doing is essentially tapping into that word of mouth marketing, which, like I said, kind of overlaps. You're promoting your content through other publications and using their influence to reach your target customers. And so some of the pros of earned media is that it increases your credibility because somebody else that people trust is sharing your content. It heightens your brand awareness and your organization awareness, and it expands your reach. Some of the cons can be that it can bring up negative publicity. That can always happen because somebody else then is sharing it and you have less control. It does take some time and effort, so you want to be really thoughtful and strategic around it. And it can be difficult to collect information on. But that being said, earned media is kind of also, again, that word of mouth shared by other people. More commonly, for it to be earned, it's kind of through reviews, success stories. It's something you can't really pay for, and it can't be owned. Rather, it's something that you get organically. It's recognition you get through communication channels as a byproduct of your content. In terms of cost, many review sites will allow you to set up an account for free, and you can pay for a premium account on some platforms. However, social media is free again. So the takeaway is you might have to pay for certain platforms if that's what you want, but the recognition you'll get on these platforms is earned. The cost to consider: time. Platforms or software that allow you to get earned media, email, review platforms, etc., any potential cost for content creation, and time up front. And it can be lots of time up front because you have to design, create, and write content first, which takes time and planning. Then you'll have to work on getting that piece of content in front of others. And lastly, maybe the back and forth tweaking of things for that search engine optimization, which can take even weeks to get picked up. Not to mention that search engine optimization is ever changing, so you might have to update your content regularly to increase your ranking there. Again, the return on investment, the biggest problem with calculating return on investment for earned media is going to be the cost of time or unbounded. You don't know how much email outreach you have to do to connect with potential clients, or how much time you need to spend on updating and looking at results to tweak content for search engine optimization. But that being said, your content, so you can build up your engagement and work towards getting others to link to you, in all, you're looking at a few weeks before your earned media brings in the highest return on investment. And so that's just something to consider with that. It's not quite as much control as with that owned media, but it's still, something that you can test. And again, measuring the engagements can take time. Of course, you're going to be able to see likes or shares, instantly, but tracking impressions or clicks or other driven data can take time. So you'll also constantly have to kind of promote, so you can track all of your metrics. And then a few examples of that earned media, just to kind of provide that, would be, publicity from media outlets. Many orgs, especially small ones, don't have a lot of money for marketing, which is why they work on ways to get publicity from different media outlets. Social media is popular, and you can be spotted, by a ton of new people, but it's hard to break through the noise if you're just kind of maybe getting started out. So media coverage can be a great way for you to break through. If you have a lending product or service that's unique, works well, looks interesting, you might be able to get some media coverage for free. They love doing stories on interesting or new finds. Yeah, and so if you're a relatively new CDFI and you offer something a little different or new, you might be able to gain some attention that way, and you can send out press releases that you want to make sure it's memorable. You can reach out directly to requests that fit your organization. But no matter what path you kind of take, everything would be like this, considered earned media. The media in this case is giving you attention, which can increase the organization about your org. And then kind of, again, back to that search engine optimization, it's definitely earned media because you can't really purchase organic searches and rankings. You get those, organically. So if you create content to fit specific search queries, you might be able to make yourself one of the best fitting results for that query, or even score a featured snippet, meaning you spent no money at all, but instead provided the most relevant content for whatever that search algorithm is, which puts you on top. And that you kind of earn that spot on there. But it does take time to build this up and kind of more research to make sure you're doing the right thing, but just something to consider. There are review sites. Reviews and testimonials are great for building credibility. Usually they're opinion of your clients, so it's an authentic channel for spreading word of mouth. And they're out there for other potential clients to see and provide you with valuable client-generated content. So again, that profile is considered owned media, but the reviews and testimonials left on a profile are definitely earned. And then there's also social media. Again, that's earned social media, which is different from the owned social media. So between the mentions and reposts, it's a great media channel, and this is where you'll see most people discussing and sharing content. It works well when it's used in tandem with paid and owned media, so you can do kind of all three with social media. So you might see an org share a new article from their blog, which is owned. Then you might see that org promote the article, which is a paid way to do that. Now all of a sudden you'll see people sharing the post, and that would be earned media. So way to make it all kind of blend together, but they all kind of serve a purpose. Then finally, word of mouth. That's definitely earned media. It fits that channel. The referrals coming in from clients sharing about your org are definitely earned. And so just to continue that just a little farther, and I'll kind of make it quick because I know we're getting on in time, is whether it's focusing on building partnerships with maybe key community members, that would be the influencers in your community, or looking to build your own level of influence, you should try to identify at least one earned media channel that you can use to reach your audience. And then finally, paid media. So this one, you really want to think of things like Google AdWords, Facebook ads, sponsored updates on Twitter or Instagram. Traditionally speaking, this would also include TV or radio commercials or print advertising or billboards, or, I'm sure y'all know even more kind of outlets out there. So yeah, and then just to continue that, I'll move on to Flo and turn that over to her to kind of finish out the paid media.
Okay, so yeah, you don't, well, you have a certain amount of control with paid media. You don't want to make sure you're not falling into a trap of continuously throwing money at it, especially if it's not generating results for you. So it's really easy to kind of get caught in that trap. Like you'll have, once you start doing paid media, you'll have people contacting you all the time to do more and more paid media, and it's like their job as salespeople to sell this. So they're going to tell you about all of these results that you should be able to get by doing a certain thing. but the end result is if it's not paying off for you, you want to be, kind of pull back from it. You might want to not do it at all, depending on what those results are. But it's really easy to kind of, get caught in that trap. So just be aware of that and be really kind of stay on top of it, especially like when you're measuring your return on investment. Some of the pros for paid media, you get instant results. It's really easy to track, and you can control your messaging with the copy, the content that you use. It's also easy to target high intent clients, meaning it's easy to really pull from your target audience. It's really easy to hit them with paid media because you're going to know what their personas are. You're going to know the different channels that they're looking at continuously, and so it's going to be easy to hit them with paid media. However, some of the cons are it's expensive. It can get more and more expensive as you do it more. Again, you'll get more salespeople contacting you to do more and more of it, so it's easy to get fall into that trap, so that's kind of a con. And it's also, you can get dependent on paid channels if you don't scale them. So it's really kind of there's a fine line to walk with paid media. With a properly set up paid marketing channel, you want to include elements of tracking, so you can definitely measure the leads, the loans that are closed, the return on investment. So make sure you always know your numbers beforehand. And don't always trust what the salesperson for these different paid media outlets are telling you, because, again, their job in their organization is to sell this stuff, and that's what they're commission-based, most of them, so they're really going to be pushy and want you to do that. Tribal and local newspapers are a great source of paid media and options for native CDFIs. Also, developing a direct mailer, such as an oversized postcard that's sent to your tribal membership. That might be another viable option for you. And also, perhaps a billboard strategically placed within your native community is another one. And some of those things aren't too terribly expensive. The next thing we want to jump to is break down the ADA model. So this is a great way to help you flesh out the details and figure out what the right marketing tactics and channels are for you. So you just kind of do a basic kind of a breakdown, and we call this ADA format. It's awareness, interest, desire, and action. So at the top end, you have your cold leads, such as clients that are completely unaware of your existence. And you want to figure out how to grab their awareness and their interest. And once you do, you'll need a way to figure out how to turn those leads into generating a sense of desire, and then finally capitalize on that with a specific action, such as attending one of your educational trainings or actually closing a loan. And then the next thing, let's kind of dig down a little bit deeper into that awareness and that channel. What you want to do is break down each channel you've chosen to focus in on your marketing strategy and map out your client's journey through that funnel. By breaking down your customer's journey, you can find out the weakest points of your funnel and whether there's anything more you can do to ensure that you're moving enough clients through your whole funnel and into a final action stage, such as closing a loan. This exercise can be extremely helpful when you're trying to figure out what tactics and what channels you want to implement when and where. The next thing we were going to do is we were going to do a question, but I think we're going to, for the sake of time, skip that because it's really important to get through some of this other stuff, such as branding. And so decades ago, branding was defined as a name, slogan, sign, symbol, or design, or a combination of all of these that distinguished one organization, product, or service from another. Today, branding is much more complex and is even more important. Branding can also be defined as the experience that your target audience gets when they come in contact with your brand, with your loan products, or your services. On a visual level, this can be done through imagery, designs, or consistent messaging. Many organizations use a combination of methods in order to establish a unique brand. Coca-Cola, for example, uses a mix of color, name, logo, a particular font, and distinct product shapes, such as the legendary Coke bottle, and that's how they're able to establish their brand and their identity. To take it a step further, Coca-Cola has a perception among their target audience that they have built up over years through their messaging and advertising because it's always been consistent and they've always stuck right on brand. Branding is not just about getting your target audience to use your organization for a loan over a local credit union. It's also about getting your prospective clients to see you as a solution to their problem or need. In its essence, branding is a problem solver. Brand identity. You can develop one through a combination of means, such as your name, your logo, your marketing communication, a catchy slogan, color combinations, or your trademark. Consider your brand identity as a system containing not just your logo design, but a system of supporting branding assets such as secondary brand marks, official brand patterns, icons, and colors. The next slide, please. This is just an identity example. Think of branding as though your organization were a living, breathing person. Imagine this person explaining who you are, why they're valuable, and what they specifically have to offer. As clients begin to identify with you, your brand will live in the hearts and minds of your clients and prospects, and they'll connect with you on an emotional level. The next slide. This may or may not be consistent with your chosen brand identity. You can usually identify this by paying attention to client feedback, surveys, and focus groups. Defining your brand is like a journey of business self-discovery. It can be difficult, time-consuming, and uncomfortable. But if you do your research and learn the needs and habits and desires of your current and prospective clients, it will really help you in identifying your brand. Next slide. Brand awareness. While advertising and marketing plays an important part in developing brand awareness, one should not ignore the quality of your loan products and services and the client's experience with it. If your clients are happy with what you have to offer, then they will become your advocate and spread your brand through word of mouth, which is the most powerful form of marketing. Your organization's name and reputation should be developed and built within the community and more specifically in your target market. Your brand and identity lay with the foundation of the way clients in the community perceive your organization. Branding for your CDFI. Branding for your native CDFI can be more challenging, but the most successful brands in our industry tie back in some way to our native culture. For example, developing an icon or logo design that relates to our culture, like a feather, an eagle, or a salmon. The icon can be specific to your tribal affiliation, background, and roots, and any icon or logo you choose should form a connection to your tribal community and target audience. It should instill a feel-good feeling in them anytime they see it, and it should have a significant meaning to your tribal affiliation and target audience. Don't be afraid to get creative when it comes to designing your logo. The sky is the limit when it comes to this. And be sure to use your logo everywhere that you can, include it on anything, letterhead and everything. This is a really good example that I wanted to share with everyone. I am sharing this with the permission of the Muskogee Loan Fund from the Muskogee Nation in Oklahoma. This logo or their icon is a great example of what was discussed in my previous slide. The great seal of the Muskogee Nation displays a sheath of wheat and a plow in the center. The icon logo is modern symbolism of the industry of the Muskogee people as agriculturists. Prior to removal, tribal towns grew communal fields of corn, beans, and squash, as well as smaller family gardens. After arriving in Indian Territory, the Muskogee people were able to prosper by growing wheat, oats, rice, and large crops of corn in the rich lands bordering the Canadian Arkansas rivers and tributaries. The center of the icon signifies this agricultural history as well as the influence of Christianity. This icon is not only symbolic to the Muskogee Creek Nation and its roots, it resonates with the tribal community today as not only a reminder of their past, but hope for the present and future generations. Next slide, yeah. This is back to Heather.
Yeah, and I'll keep it quick because I know we're at the end here, so I won't run through these bullets because they really highlight what we're saying here, which is consistent messaging is just so key, and we've mentioned this already. So you'll have these slides and you can review it, but really, like Flo said, get a great logo, write down your brand messaging, integrate your brand into everything, create that voice that reflects your organization and brand, a tagline if you can, where it fits, for a product or service even. Different templates that create brand standards, which you don't have to get fancy with or hire anybody to do. As long as you're consistent with the same colors, same logos, that's really the most important part, and as well as being true to your brand. And again, that being consistent is so important. And then that kind of flows into, we just wanted to kind of also throw out kind of 10 best practices for successful email marketing campaigns, just because we know that's one of the outlets that most groups have. And so we can go into this in depth, but like I said, in the interest of time, I'll kind of run through the bullets. But really, if you have a specific campaign, making it exclusive at times can make it really appealing to your audience. Maybe offering something extra, like a discount on a training that you may charge for, or a coupon for something local, maybe a partnership with a local business, something like that can really boost your marketing campaign that you email into successful spaces. Use social proof. So with that, customer reviews or ratings, that's really going to help if you include that into a marketing campaign that you email. Humanizing your brand. Maybe you're talking about your challenges or obstacles or failures behind the scenes of your org to make your brand feel more human. Micro conversions, which are just little calls to action, follow us on Facebook. You can include downloads as pictures, inquiry forms, loan applications. Tell readers what to do. Tell them a call to action. Be really clear, add this training to your calendar, fill out this loan application, etc. Remind readers who you are. They might not remember. So constantly kind of share who you are as an organization. And then finally, be generous and say thanks. It might be one of the more overlooked email marketing best practices, but if you have swag you can give away or things you can share, again, that partner with a local business that maybe you have coupons for, and say thanks sincerely. If you're grateful to them, say thank you and let them know how much you appreciate that you get to serve them in your communities. But yeah, so those are just really quick 10 best practices.
And I'm going to just close it real quick here. Everything we discussed in the webinar is based on best practices, but we really wanted to stress that marketing strategies and plans come in many different shapes and sizes. So depending on the size of your organization, you may not be ready for a full-blown marketing strategy or plan. If you're just a small or emerging CDFI with limited resources, like in terms of time and money and marketing expertise, you can still successfully develop and implement a marketing strategy and plan. When you're very small with limited resources, things like marketing often fall to the bottom of the priority list or just seems too overwhelming to take on. So you can develop a mini marketing plan. In doing so, the organization could choose just one or two distribution channels and develop a strategy or plan surrounding those channels. For example, you could just focus on email marketing and just developing client lists. You could just focus on newsletter, like getting a monthly newsletter out at the same time each month, and then reviewing those newsletter statistics to track the clicks and open rates, and then adjust your timing to capitalize those. You could just focus on social media, and you could just post on social media weekly, tie those social media posts and newsletters if possible. You could just focus on really determining who your target market is and what the client personas are, and just use surveys and offer some incentives to click those surveys. So you don't have to have a large budget in order to do a marketing plan and strategy. The whole process to building your own marketing strategy and plan, regardless of the size of your organization, could take several months, or you could just do it in a couple of weeks if you did a smaller one. But be assured that once you've done it and you know exactly what direction to move forward and how to get there, it'll be really rewarding in the end.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, Flo, just before we close, is that I think this, what you put in here in this slide is so important, that building this strategy and plan is essential, for success. It sounds like maybe it's extra, or, it's, oh, we're doing all this work, but we don't have time for that. It's, I really like that you said no matter how great your loan products are, your services are, if no one knows about it in the first place, you're not closing any loans. You're not actually getting to serve the people you want if you're not reaching them. So I just think that's so important. So just wanted to say that before you close in the last slide.
Thanks, Heather. So I know at the end here we've kind of rushed through some slides just because we ran out of time, but we are having office hours tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be here for about an hour, and we can ask any more questions. We can ask, individualized questions or go into more depth in some of the stuff that we kind of brushed over at the end.
Perfect. And a registration reminder will be sent after this webinar, so you'll definitely see something in your inboxes. And yeah, like Flo said, we'll be here to answer any questions you have, so feel free to join us again.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Flo. I wanted to point your attention to the chat box. If you could please fill out the survey. So Benjamin Miller just added a link there. So if you could click that link, it should just take 3 to 5 minutes, really, really short, very helpful for us to make sure that you're getting out of this what you were expecting and to help us improve future training. So if you could please do that, that would be very helpful. And we'll send out an email shortly with registration. And if you thought maybe you didn't want to come to office hours, but now you're like, oh, I really have a question, I want to talk it over with Heather and Flo tomorrow, we invite you to join us for those office hours. So you might already have registered. If so, you don't need to do anything else. But if you haven't registered, we'll send out another reminder after this call and give you a chance to do that. And we'll also be sending out to the Dropbox, which will have the slides. And in a few days, it takes a little bit of turnaround time, but in a few days, that will also have a recording of this webinar in that Dropbox. So if you maybe wanted to come but couldn't at the last minute, you could forward that link to them so that they can listen in afterwards.